So, yeah, I'm going to talk a bit about technology demonstrators and the fourth industrial revolution. And that last word, revolution, can incite a bit of excitement or anxiety or even a bit of disbelief amongst people, I think. And as Stephen said, as well as being the CTO of the High Value Manufacturing Catapult, of which the MTC is one of our 7 centres, I've been chairing a group called Digital for Industry, which has been running for about a couple of years. And when that group first started, it's also actually an industry leadership group looking at manufacturing, digital manufacturing, and how we can position the UK to take advantage of this revolution and the technology that's around us. And it's fed into the Industrial Digitalisation Review, which I supported Jürgen Maurer and his team, as I have colleagues from the HVM Catapult. But one of the first things that came out when we brought this group together was that industry needed somewhere to demonstrate and showcase the technology that could really deliver the transformation in terms of productivity and opportunity to the UK. And that was a key message. How do we build a kind of ecosystem, which we've already got within the HVM Catapult to a degree, but better connectivity between our centres, businesses, universities, where we can actually demonstrate, explore, advance the state of the art to really put the UK at the forefront of this revolution. Now, when we talk about revolutions need revolutionaries. And this is disruption. Revolutions lead to someone else being sat in the throne normally and fundamentally changing society. Now, Uber, maybe not a key manufacturing company currently, but an example of revolution in adjacent sectors. So this is now the biggest taxi or ride-hail firm in the world. They don't own any assets. They've got plans, of course, to move into vehicle ownership, autonomous vehicles, connected autonomous vehicles, also into air transport. So a fundamentally disruptive model, and if you look at what's happened also with Airbnb, with a similar model, being now the largest owner of, the largest hotel provider in the world without any assets. And you look at what the likes of Amazon and Ricardo are doing to the retail space. This is truly revolutionary. In adjacent sectors, I warrant, but if you think about where Uber are going and others might go here, this is how does this change the supply chains and value chains in which we operate? And what opportunities does that create? When you think about Uber's next steps, they move into connected autonomous vehicles, whoever moves into this space and takes ownership of it, and the data and the connectivity now from the design phase through to manufacturing, through to operation and engagement with customers and next generation design, this digital thread creates real new opportunities for us all. And if you think about who owns that in-service data, and actually if you can couple that in-service data as a distribution of performance with manufacturing data, maybe moving away from binary tolerance, whether something's good or it's bad, but actually looking at qualitative data that we can capture in manufacturing, and how that would inform your next generation design. You start to think about whoever owns that in-service data. Data is king. That's the revolutionaries. So we do see change afoot, I think, in a number of key manufacturing and engineering sectors that could change the value chains in which we operate and create real opportunities for disruption and for businesses to derive value in new ways. Because that's ultimately where the revolution comes. It is disruption. Now, while there's disruption and revolution in the digital space currently, we also look at what the likes, I mentioned the likes of Amazon and Ricardo are doing in the logistics space. And some of the technology they're developing actually, whilst it's in adjacent spaces, is very relevant to the manufacturing domain. And it's becoming affordable and tested and well used. And you think about things like the Amazon Pulse, where you can, this is IoT technology. Running out of washing powder or beer or whatever it may be, you press the button and the drone delivers it. This has all been developed and tested in adjacent markets that are fairly critical and technology that can be brought into the manufacturing space and may be disruptive from a manufacturing technology perspective. You look at what Ricardo are doing, developing their own technology platforms to address their needs in terms of logistics and automation. So the technology, in truth, is an evolution. This is not revolution in terms of technology, but the revolution comes in terms of disrupting business models. So I think it's important for businesses to think big about where that opportunity comes, or even the risk. What's the value chain in which you sit? Where might a disruption come? Could you be the disruptor? If it's not you, how do you deal with and harness the opportunities that come from that? But in terms of the technology and evolution, I think you should find to start small. Start within the factory and think about how the technology that's around us now, that's evolving at real pace, can be adopted, adapted, integrated to deliver transformation of your business now. How can this technology address current business challenges such as productivity, quality, flexibility, lead time reduction, and agility? So I recognise here, as Jürgen said this morning, perhaps we're talking to the 8% of visionaries and leaders in the UK who've started to think about this. In terms of and I think all those in the room will benefit from this close ecosystem, looking at technology demonstration, exploration of these opportunities and how we can come together to really accelerate the pace of change. If you think about the 91% who've not yet started, showcasing where we can start, being able to start with technology that addresses the current challenges that are currently on the desks of businesses and execs around the country now, is a really important starting place. So as part of the industrial digitalisation review, there was an early survey that was conducted online, an online survey. I'll come back to that point in a minute with one of the, looking at what were some of the barriers and uptake of industrial digitalisation. In fact, we also the online survey also had a review of what were the major technologies that had been adopted. I think for the online survey, there's 100% adoption for internet technology and a pretty lower level of adoption for things such as data analytics. But some of the key things that were drawn out here as barriers really were things like cybersecurity as a real tangible barrier. We've heard a bit about today about security and some of the fears and concerns that presents. But can we create demonstrators and spaces where we can test and advance cybersecurity in line with that technology? But particularly there were concerns around not knowing where to start or the value of return investment on the technology, not knowing where to go to from an innovation perspective for partners. Not knowing where to develop and test the skills that are required. So in answer to many of these spaces, you've heard a lot more in the last 2 days around the recommendations of the Made Smarter review. But technology demonstrators and integrating this ecosystem is a crucial part of how we can address and advance, accelerate adoption and the pace of change. So in terms of technology demonstrators and use cases, we see already a great opportunity. We're starting within the HVM Catapult to better connect our centres and pull together some of the great use cases we're seeing both developed in the centres. You'll see some of those around the next 2 days at the MTC, with industry partners we're working with, or others that we're picking up some great examples of where the technology is being used to address current business challenges. And we're really looking for much closer integration across HVM Catapult, universities, industry, to pull together a portfolio of use cases that's dynamic and live and evolving all the time in terms of technology demonstrators, each addressing different business needs, maybe different sector needs, different regional access potentially for businesses. So this would naturally exist across our centres and others. We would house these technology demonstrators which can showcase and let people come and explore and de-risk digital technology in environments that are safe to do so, but also importantly connect to peer-to-peer use cases. So really that credibility that comes from installations of companies like yours using technology to address current business challenges or create value in new ways. Also create a meeting place where we can bring together the technology providers, the tech community, the disruptors who perhaps aren't in the manufacturing space currently, with manufacturing technology users to again test and explore and advance state of the art. And a place where perhaps we can get innovation projects if Lynn can squirt some more money at us to make it, for those who see the technology and understand this could be relevant for them, how do we actually fund that next step to make it easy to go and explore and de-risk and really accelerate that pace and take some of the risk out of adoption again. An important part of this is something we're building now around a digital demonstrator platform. So whilst getting hands-on with that technology is important, we're looking for demonstrators where we can create virtual content. And the graphic up at the top there is an app that's been developed with HVM Catapult where we can map and explore by different use cases or technology types, arrange the virtual content of demonstrators. That could be VR systems, it could be live analytics, or at least showcasing, taking you to the most appropriate demonstrator for your own business needs based on some kind of diagnostic system. So think about some of these examples of use cases in industry, which is a really important starting place. There's a number of different challenges that have been addressed by companies, and I've picked out just a few companies we know are doing this already. So this is not something that's coming sometime in the future. This is around us now. There are early adopters who've got some great examples and benefits from employing technology, such as the first one's a company called Hosokawa, who are using digital twins for design and monitoring. So they're using modular design and build of their powder milling machines, and actually using the technology not only at the design phase and then parking it, which perhaps is the way we traditionally use digital design tools, but actually once installed, they've got highly sensored up machines and taking data in real time back into these models so that you can do offline diagnostics and monitoring and remote support. So creating a new way of delivering value as a business model using this technology. So many other examples of similar applications, but product digital twin with real live data streaming in that is delivering more value to their customers and more value to that company. Looking at digital twins for factory simulation. So there's Hayward Tyler won an MX award last year, looking at how they use discrete event simulation for their factory layout and optimization. So looking, accelerating the way that new products are developed through the shop floor, optimizing routing, and some other great examples of people using that same technology for real business challenges. Bottom one, bespoke automation, customization. Many great examples of this with companies that we work with across the Catapult. One example here with BAE have taken an installation that's reduced lead time for a particular application from its original state many-fold and massively reduced capital investment costs. And think about diagnostics and analytics line side. We've got examples of companies who have got solutions at £500,000 a go who are using light analytics or perhaps expert systems that can embed the knowledge from users. So this challenge around this demographic challenge we have of a workforce that is perhaps where most of the knowledge base is coming towards the end of career. And we've got a new generation of workers coming in after a bit of a gap, perhaps on investment in skills for a while. Think about the talk around skills development and the right platforms that we need in place. But we've got a digital literate workforce coming in, and how can we capture the experience and knowledge of experienced users? How can we combine that with some of the science that we have around us and analytics, but also using the data so we've got self-learning systems that evolve over time. So we can build these in modular fashion at quite cheap interjections to either for health monitoring equipment or for particular processes. Tagging and tracking provenance is a key issue, tracking through supply chains. A great example here from a company is working with one of our centres, Hobson's Brewery, developed a tagging and tracking system using near-field communication devices on barrels, so these can be tracked around the country, reducing working width and cost of assets, but also creating a new business opportunity and spin-out. Quality control, looking at companies who are using, advancing beyond traditional SPC data. This is an example of a company who's capturing data line side in a press tool workshop just to understand the quality of dies, reduce the time required for die setup and changeover. So fairly small investments initially in the order of a few hundreds, thousands of pounds to get started and start on that journey. But many great examples such as these we really want to pull together across this wider network of industrial use cases as well as examples within our own centres. And then within the technology demonstrators we can house within our own centres can be a little more open. I think there's a great amount of credibility that we can see from those use cases industry. But across Catapult centres, university, the opportunity we have is to be open platforms to come and understand and explore where the technology is going, what it can do for the business partners we're working with, and some great examples of really technology that's could be revolutionary in its application. So we've got the factory in a box project here at the MTC, showing how you can really take modular manufacturing units, embedded intelligence, and revolutionise business models in the way they're deployed, potentially globally. Another great example here at the MTC of the M4 with Megit project, modular manufacturing, including intelligent workbench, logistics planning around the factory. Some great examples of installations of technology addressing current business challenges that can actually be explored within centres like this. And visualization, again, great examples, applications of VR in aerospace, construction, automotive examples, where are showing real added value and people can come and explore how those are used. And beyond these, across the 7 Catapult centres we have across the UK, we can start to think about how do we apply this also in look at the AFRC up in Scotland in terms of forging technology, a machining application, maybe in the MRC in Sheffield, or looking at National Composite Centre in terms of embedded non-destructive NDE. So it's not just about the factory and assembly technology, also looking at how, for whatever your business and whatever your manufacturing discipline is, where can we apply the digital tools to derive more value in terms of improving productivity, quality, reducing lead time, embedding intelligence. So across this network, and much wider than our own centres, we want to build a really strong collection of demonstrators where we can signpost people to help them start that journey. So as well as showcasing what is currently the state of the art, advancing the state of the art, transforming the landscape is a really crucial part of this offering as well. So sharing, I think, and accelerating adoption will give us a huge leg up in catching up with our international peers. But really, to take a leadership position, we need to look at how do we transform the landscape in the UK. And some of the work we've been doing within the HRM Catapult and working with the IDR and D4I group, looking at what are these key challenges that come out of a number of consultations with companies that we see. And we're proposing a network of larger demonstrators that would address these, such as legacy connectivity, for example. How do we connect legacy assets and derive value from those, rather than purely looking at new installations and new builds. Digital twin, we mentioned already, but looking at digital twin from design of product through to design of manufacturing processes. Looking at advancing skills, particularly looking at the food and drink sector, where there's challenges around access to low-skilled labour, and looking at automation to improve productivity, but also transitioning from a low-skilled seasonal workforce to a highly skilled technical workforce. And then looking at operational efficiency, smart factories. How do we embed intelligence to improve the way we design our factory layouts, really realise value to accelerate the product or the process design stage. Another key challenge was seen as supply chain responsiveness and provenance. So looking at tracking through supply chains, how do we look at reconfigurable supply chains, accelerating that agility, but also tracking for certain sectors, particularly food and drink, pharmaceuticals, aerospace, that provenance tracking is crucial, can have real value. Flexibility and flexible manufacturing, so particularly looking at batch size of one. So again, how do you use this intelligence that's available from cloud computing? Example Lynn talked about earlier in terms of machining companies who are or alternative solutions to machining challenges, where you can actually use AI to derive the optimum process route, something that normally would take a good deal of expertise and time, and actually embedding that in systems where we can go from art to part, so where we have a product design and automatically generate that manufacturing process execution with flexible manufacturing systems. But also looking at new ways of generating business models and business value, such as servitization and, of course, the circular economy, looking at how can we use tracking, provenance to improve resource efficiency, and really demonstrates how we can embrace circular economy and become a leader in the UK for this particular sector. So these are some of the areas where common challenges and opportunities have been drawn out from talking to you guys in the room and other businesses, where we think we can focus effort and really start to push the boundary and put the UK in a leadership position, not just in a position where we can adopt, but where we can really push forward the state of the art. And advancing the state of the art is again the final piece of this jigsaw, of pulling together the wider ecosystem across the UK. And I think Jürgen talked yesterday about the underpinning technologies of the Made Smarter vision. So looking at how do we pull together the researchers, the companies who are driving, accelerating this pace of change. So things like AI, IoT technology, visualization, advanced robotics, additive manufacturing. So looking at a place where we can demonstrate and test if you're an advanced user, or if you're looking at being a technology provider, perhaps coming from an adjacent sector, bringing people in from that fintech or gaming sectors, or developing powder control systems or monitoring systems for additive manufacturing techniques. How do we demonstrate and showcase this emergent technology, an environment where we can learn and collaborate and advance together? So essentially, to really move the UK into that leadership position, it is about demonstrating, transforming the way we do business, demonstrating the use of technology, but also advancing the state of the art. And we see the opportunity to do that is in partnership with business, innovation centres, universities, but particularly bringing together the manufacturing businesses that still excel in the UK across the sectors where we have leadership, and the tech community. And we've got a really strong, innovative technology ecosystem in the UK already, but better connectivity and demonstrating where technology is being used, can be used, and how we can change the landscape, we believe is the answer to really putting the UK on the forefront. So that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.